Hello, this is Robbie Berry. I'm pursuing a Master of Education in Learning, Design, and Technology at Penn State. For a design studio class with Dr. Hooper, I was tasked with making a collage in Photoshop. To help you understand my process, I need to introduce you to my grandparents. My grandfather worked at the Pentagon as a historian, and sometime back in the 1950s was stationed in Paris. He and my grandmother started up a square dance group there called the Paris Squares, and they held a dance at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, with my grandfather calling the square dance. Here are the Paris Squares making their way to the Eiffel Tower, my grandparents in the lead. Now, you probably noticed they have some pretty fancy clothes on. My grandmother had tons of square dance dresses over the years, and my grandfather had vests that matched. With that, let me get back to the collage and connect these ideas for you. I started the collage by taking 50 pictures of my commute. I live in New Jersey and commute into New York by train. I work in the Office of Access and Services for Individuals with Disabilities at Teachers College, Columbia University. With these photos, I wanted to show the life of my commute. I picked out 25 of the 50 pictures and uploaded them to Adobe Bridge. Looking at all of the pictures laid out and thinking through how I'd make them fit together in a cohesive piece reminded me of when I made quilts from my grandparents' square dancing clothes. Here's a picture of my sister and me at my grandparents' house playing dress-up in my grandma's square dance dresses. That's me blowing the bubble. When we were older and my grandparents decided to hang up their square dance shoes, I took the dresses and my grandpa's vests and made quilts from the material. This is my stepfather holding up one of the quilts I made. I used a different dress for each star, my grandfather's vests for the four corners, and I sewed the tags from the handmade dresses on the back. Making these quilts was an exercise in storytelling, patience, and making puzzle pieces fit. The process of quilting the photos together started with the background layer. The photo on the left is subway tracks with no filter or editing. On the right is the same photo, cropped, enlarged, and with a black and white adjustment. This became my background layer. I wanted a neutral background that was recognizable as a train track. This is a close-up of the first row from the collage. You'll see the black and white train tracks in the background, my cat at the door, and a cup of coffee. More about the coffee in a bit. You see the shadow of people waiting on the platform, and I used a layer of a train window on top of an actual picture of my house to create that look. The second row shows a transit sign, people walking, a man playing steel drums, and another version of coffee. I like that you could see the rivets in the background layer. This adds to the industrial feel, and the way the tracks run horizontally through the background gives the collage a feel of structure and linear movement like a train. In this third row, I wanted the observer to feel like they were watching the scene out of a train window. I purposely cropped the photos evenly with clean lines and added photos with blurred movements like a train had just buzzed by. The next row in the collage shows a subway sign for Columbia, a tall statue at the gates, a cup of coffee, the corner sign of Teacher College, and a sign in Braille and raised letters for my office. The background layer here looks almost like steps or pedestals, indicating more stability than in the sections above. This last row is the commute home. Here you see the 116th Street subway tiles, the overcrowded car, commuters making their way down a corridor, and of course my cat to greet me. The background layer here is soft and earthy. It gives the feel of leaving the cement of the city and getting back home after a long day. Some of the tools I used were lasso, blur, filters, and layers. For the photo of the man playing steel drums, I used the regular lasso tool and then blurred the edges. It gives a softer feel and dreamier look, which fits since I'm only one coffee in at this point. For this photo in the last row, I really liked the blue lights overhead, and I wanted to keep the lines intact. I also wanted to see the commuter's feet walking out from the bottom of the photo, so I used the magnetic lasso tool that automatically clings to the shapes within the photo. Let's talk about coffee. At first I had 25 pictures crowded on a page. My husband looked at it and said it was too busy, that it needed to breathe. I thought about when in my day do I take time to breathe? When I get coffee. Coffee is the lifeblood of the commuter. So I added the Anthora coffee cup, which is iconic in New York City. I used the lasso tool to cut out the cups. I added a filter to each one. The first cup on the left, I used the Liquify filter, which sums up how I'm feeling at 7 a.m. The second cup on the right, I used the Wind filter, which tells the story of grabbing coffee in Penn Station. Both cups are off kilter. For the last cup, I used the Paint filter, which calms things down a bit. It corresponds to how I feel once I start my way into work. And the cup is now steady and straight. The placement of the cups within the collage gives balance and breadth, and also maps out when and where I actually get my coffee. When I first started this process, I was overwhelmed by the amount of photos that we needed to use in the collage. But I was able to adjust my thinking to see it like a quilt, and I started to see how to use the collage to tell a story. And then I could make the puzzle pieces fit. Just as the quilts I made from my grandparents' square dance clothes were an exercise in storytelling, patience, and making puzzle pieces fit, so too was this collage. And I might add an exercise in filters, lassos, layers, and finding breath.